Approve the minutes of the last meeting.
And then vote for yourself.
And then second it, and then carry it all in favor.
Minutes are accepted. Academy Creek.
Oh, do we have one? Oh, concept plan.
Is it
Jumping in again.
You were
concept
jumping up.
plan?
Kirk's not here. He misses his turn.
He's coming, I just
No.
talked to him, he's supposed to be coming.
Academy Creek building?
Says right here.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll walk through what we're basically talking about doing in Academy Creek. And as we talked about, I think on a couple of previous meetings, whether it was in here or in HR committee, the current plan is the old DAF building, solid air flotation building, we're thinking solids, processing to dispose of. We're taking that old building, which has been out of commission for a number of years. It's, looks like it's the atomic blast ready building. It has upper floor, lower floor, which were the tanks for the DAFs, that Kirk and his staff have opened walls and converted that to basically consolidated inventory. We talked about consolidating inventory, getting more efficient, effective things. So one of the things they've done is opened it up and placed started to organize it to be able to consolidate wastewater materials and water distribution and any other inventoried items into those areas. The longer term plan is to pour in a solid concrete roof or floor, depending on where you're standing, over the DAFs and create office space, training rooms, a permanent hardened area for the servers, a war room for emergency events like we had here a couple of weeks ago with Irma. We're going to put in a staging area for lockers, sleeping quarters, an improved break room kitchen area to facilitate managing everybody, office space for supervisors, and as we get it done, we want to consolidate all of operations. Now, Kirk, I don't know if I gave you, did you get my heads up to bring the drawings? Could you bring them up to allow Commissioner Ford to take a peek? This is the conceptual of that staff has been working on to how the space will be utilized.
Well, that was the chicken
are you gonna present this tomorrow?
Say again?
Are you gonna present this, next week?
I can, not a problem.
Yeah, I think, and have a packet for the commissioners, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And that was rendered 3D with the assistance of Harry Patel.
Yep.
Harry is not
And
here.
there's still modifications. That's
He's
my
here.
working copy.
You want to take a bow?
And then these are some of the thought patterns.
This is the existing and this is the new?
No, none of this is existing, sir.
That's
This
his
is just
conceptual
concept
footprint.
that I scratched out. And what Harry did was then take that concept and put it in a 3D rendering on several pages, various views. The thing that I liked was I had gone up there, run some measurements, took the building drawings, architectural and detailed engineered drawings, and then came up with some spacing constraints. The idea would be that below this, which is not incorporated in that, you have the existing structures and DAF tanks that you'd have to put a floor matrix in, whether it's I'm targeting a concrete style floor, so form, tie steel, and pour to stay with the integrity of the structure, with inventory on the lower level or the main floor level, which is a 13 and change elevation, and then you'd have a deck. This would represent the upper deck, which is at 25.7
So
on that structure.
We're gonna have.
we're beyond under material payments.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're talking closer to 1.2 million to maybe 2.
Pouring floors and doing this,
Yeah.
you're doing that.
This is
I only got about 500,000.
We got 800,000 left over from the building fund here. Whatever we collected so far in the sale of
That was the
spare properties,
infill.
And we're working with Hagerty Company to see if there's a hazard mitigation angle that we can get some help to finish it. Because again,
Okay.
we're looking at
And
this being
can we,
our EMA,
just, go ahead.
this is
I'm
going to be
sorry.
our EMA headquarters for the joint water and sewer. We've got fiber optics that go from here via the Pate Building down to the Academy Creek location. That will give us, if we put our servers and everything down there, that means even if this building floods, we're not going to lose our servers. We'll be able to dry it out, mop it up, and we'll be back in business the following Monday.
What's the elevation of the second floor?
25.7. The building
That's very
structure.
high.
Yeah,
We're going to
it's
be
really good.
safe from surge issues.
Yeah, we talked with Hagerty, and that elevation works for up to a greater than anticipated Cat 3 storm surge, which
Sure,
whether we see that or not, at that point, seriously, we're going to be out of here anyways. But for most stuff, and we didn't see any net effect other than the fact that we got an existing leaky roof, but it's a concrete deck roof. It just needs a new membrane or whatever the choice may be.
Now, that wasn't included in your cost, right?
Yes,
Yes, it was.
re-roof. Yes, sir.
But I mean, you know, our costs are such, they're the 60,000 foot level estimates of cost. So $1.2 million to $2 million, if we're in there somewhere.
Well, now I'll go devil's advocate.
Okay?
I'm just kind of worried that we are spending more money than we really want to. When we are crying wolf
No.
on the systems underground, why can't we apply that money?
Well, let me explain why. And we've had this discussion in the HR committee, which I know you're not part of. But one of the reasons we want to dust this building off and repurpose it, aside from having EMA, which gives us greater resiliency in the event of another catastrophe, is the fact that in an ongoing everyday basis, my vision is that we consolidate operations. Right now, we've got entities here, there, and yonder. As we talked about in the HR committee, the big thing I see is that from personal experience, consolidating operations and growing flexibility within the various groups. Yeah, you were there for that. We are going to gain efficiencies that allow us to be more productive and address a lot of those issues you were just talking about. But currently, we are strapped, but if we can gain efficiencies, gain productivity, we'll get more done, get more utilization of our people, reduce our overtime, share resources such as rolling stock, be more servient to our customers. There's a lot of benefits there, but we've got to have a place where these bodies can consolidate and be under one oversight eye to be able to, okay, these folks are short a crew member or short an operator today. These folks don't have a lot on their schedule. Let's match those. These folks can be cross-trained so that we get greater flexibility. Today we need to do this, and we've trained cross-trained so we can do that. We've talked about even having cross-trained crews, cross-trained crews that can do water or wastewater that might have staggered start times during the day so that they can work through the 8 o'clock hour, catch those, mealtime calls we get that cost overtime.
I understand what you're saying, but my caveat would be is typically in another former life or life that I lead, if you want something like this, you actually have to present a business case that supports your requirement. Everything that you have said to me is just like a verbal indicator, but there are no hard facts behind your desire.
We can put together a business plan. It's going to be our best estimate.
Well,
But I guess that's the case in any
and
business.
that's the
scenario.
case in everything, but if you don't have the support behind you, headquarters, sorry, you've got to have a solid business case.
We'll do that then. We'll put together the business plan and carve out. And remember, some of the values that we're going to be incorporating here aren't going to be quantifiable. What's it worth to be able to start business back up after a flood? If we had a 9-foot surge. because we, wrecked our
Well,
servers.
but-
No,
that
but again,
out.
all that is quantifiable.
Yeah, because you're providing service again, you're
You're
selling
right,
water.
but let me back it up. What is it worth to inconvenience our customers for a few weeks while we get things started back? How much of an issue is it for them? Is that cost a measurable cost, or is that an aggravation? How do you measure the cost of aggravation in customer service? As we know from most recent experiences with the overload on the phones, it's difficult.
Yeah, but that, everything you have said is still quantifiable. There's a significant amount of assumptions that you may have to make,
Yeah.
but you can still assign numbers to that.
You know, restaurant, revenue, something that is lost to the restaurant. Doesn't have to necessarily be our cost, it can be to the community cost. you
Okay,
know,
well, I'm not saying we
and
wouldn't,
those
we'll
kinds
do
of
the
things.
business plan, the business analysis.
Yeah.
All I'm saying,
But
there
now-
are benefits that are not readily quantifiable.
Yeah.
I'll put a number with it,
Okay,
but
but now, are we looking at going to FEMA and requesting mitigation funds?
yes, that's part of the work. Whereas Pam, part of our work, sorry, picking on it. Part of the work right now is the last meetings with Haggerty are to build the pieces, give them the information that builds the case to say, we need this to be prepared. If they can make it work within the rules and guidelines of FEMA, we may be up for a hazard mitigation grant from, actually, Hurricane
Yeah.
Matthew, thank you.
Because Irma hasn't been declared for this
Yeah, it
area
hadn't
yet,
been declared yet for us.
for mitigation, because that's a different program
Okay.
than the A and B programs.
No, I mean, you're also gonna have to justify too, that I understand where the building is, and I understand where the elevation is, and that's a great thing. But you're not gonna put anybody in there during a hurricane, because if the surge comes, that second floor is gonna be fine, but everything else is gonna be gone. You have no access to the second floor. And if you're gonna support that building like that, then if you put a generator or whatever, it's gotta be at the same elevation. And those people have to be understood that they're gonna be there for a week or so until the water recedes. I wouldn't say that we have anybody who wanna go stick up there for a week. Well, maybe we do.
No comment.
Go ahead.
I'm volunteering, not waiting. If I may, sir, I think part of what's going to be important to understanding what this project was born out of, you got to remember when I came here back in 14, that Systems Pumping had pod people, right? There was little trailers here, there, and everywhere, and that's the way it was broke up, even though you had a design of that department to be 40-odd persons. It's since grown to about 50 people. And during that time period, we were actually down as low as, I think, 36 persons were in there. So I consolidated and pulled people in from these trailers that they're disparate parts of the same department that weren't communicating. So as we pulled them into that building, what I saw when the then executive director took me through the building, I saw an asset that Joint Water and Sewer owned that was drastically underutilized. Yet previous visionaries, or lack thereof, saw that building as something to simply bulldoze. They didn't see the value in the structure. My start on this started out from the fact of looking simply at systems pumping and maintenance with 50 persons and insufficient warehousing space, a roof that was already leaking, that walked into a building that was leaking, an old DAF structure that became affectionately known as the bat cave because it literally housed, for over 10 years, bats. They were there. That's what was in that building, and the commission chose to evict them, and it was a good thing. And we have chosen to expand our utilization of that structure. But I still have a crew of 50-odd persons today that are crammed into one very small segment of this structure. So even if we didn't look at the cost balance for this grandiose scheme of EOC and for joint water and sewer, not for countywide, but for joint water and sewer, it was born from a place of systems pumping needed a place to grow. And then when Mr. Junkin came on board, he saw it also as a place whereby we could consolidate, because he asked me, could that hold more? And from that, I came up with 12 offices, 16 open cubicle style, not counting the existing downstairs spaces, And then our recent experience with Irma taught us, I need to look even greater detail because the ability to provide meals for staff. Now, it's true, you're 100% correct. Under a storm surge that's going to drive us out of the first floor, we're going to make the logical decision to stay or to go. Because if Glynn County is effaced from the map, we're not sticking around. We're going to be bugging out to somewhere west of here.
Anything over 3.
But under those conditions, not only does it satisfy day-to-day operational, it allows the consolidation and expansion, and that's where Mr. Junkin is talking, that how do you quantify that? I already have need. I already have a structure that needs a roof. Logically, I should be putting a roof on that building, end of story, to take care of the persons that utilize it today. And that's been leaking for years. The only reason this building's been able to tolerate that is the materials of construction. That's the only reason. But again, previous individuals looked at it as something to throw away, to bulldoze. The opportunity here is to have a building that not only satisfies today's needs, real needs, that we could quantify but we're making do. Expansive within the organization and consolidation. Expansive from the standpoint that we can draw in and have a central warehouse. That doesn't have an immediate dollar value return, but efficiency of operation does have a dollar value of return. Then on top of that, you have the dollar value of under most storms. Most, but the most extreme, you would have a structure that could tolerate that, and even under the extreme where you bug out, that your hardware is likely still high and dry.
Well, originally, this, and we'd have to ask the other commissioners, because I don't remember, but originally, this was being sold as a hurricane center. Then the definition changed to be a consolidation center. And then the thing that bothers me the most is I've seen what happens when we start renovating old structures that weren't designed for this intent. I just finished a hurricane center for a certain company or firm, and it was an existing, just like you said, 1940s block building that it could withstand an atomic bomb. All right, once we got into that, our estimate went from one number to almost 3 times that number, just because of all the unforeseen. So if you're estimating $1.5 million, you very well could be looking at over 2.5. Where are we going to draw a line?
Well, let's do the business analysis you were talking about, because, and I don't know about the Hurricane Center, I kind of thought the Hurricane Center was more an after effect than a primary reason to go in there, because, as I said, my experiences were that we basically, in consolidating our efforts, looking at asset management as a tool to examine the way we do everything we do, particularly those repetitive tasks that, are associated with the linear assets. There's a lot of things that we could get out of our resources, both human and hard resources. There's inventory controls that we can manage, time and labor that we talked about. So there's a lot of things there that we need to be much better at if we're going to make headway. And frankly, because of the pressures on our rate structure right now, which we're at the top end of things, my vision was that we would begin to provide more service at a much lower cost. Certainly $1 million is a lot of money to be throwing around, but I think that will, when we finish the business model, there'll be a good ROI on it. It's not going to be a 40-year ROI. It's going to be, like a 5-10-year ROI. And that building, it's there for the decades.
Can we, next Thursday we have HR, right? Can we go wander through there? After?
Sure. That'd be an
Yeah,
excellent
have
idea.
you been there?
I've been there, but I just don't remember it.
HR next Thursday.
Yeah. Could, if we
We'll
can.
just meet down there and.
Yeah, I mean, are you both available on a Saturday? Because I know you both work, is why.
Well, next Thursday we have HR, and then we were kind of going to do something
Oh,
else, and then we
okay.
have the meeting.
You available
and then-
Thursday?
We could go by there before the meeting.
Or have you been there to see that building?
Yeah, I've seen the building, it's built like a tent.
Okay. Well, you may not feel you need to go walk through it,
Yeah, anybody's welcome.
Yeah, we can take a video for Rob, from Mr. Roll. Let's do that, if you'll allow me, I'll schedule the tour, and we'll work it out to do it right before the HR committee meeting.
But just out of curiosity, what were the major hurdles you had in your experience? What caused the cost overrun?
Well, because when we were putting offices, we were doweling the walls down into the floor,
Right,
and we were hitting the rebar from the existing floor.
right?
But we had no expectations where that was gonna hit, right? And then we had to redo all the wiring because we had like Federal Pacific, circuit breakers, which are no longer even made, and you can't even.
So basically, you had to redo the electric.
We had to redo the electric from scratch. We had to pull every single piece of copper wire out of there. And then when we were doing that, it was all concrete construction. Everything had to go back surface mount, right? So when you surface mount, then you've got conduit, and rigid conduit everywhere, because there was no way to hide it. So it just ran into problems, and then if you wanted the IT support, all the IT had to go on raceways, right? So it really got.
Okay, got it.
Big cable tray, that's what he said.
Well, and
That's the
actually what we
look
did,
these
we
days.
actually used, there's a brand that uses dual. You can run power and IT in one cable
One
tray.
cable tray?
As long as you provide a separation. It actually works pretty good and it meets code. But it's ugly as sin, and you can't paint it, the paint will come off, so you
It
got.
works.
Yeah, it's got chrome looking stuff everywhere.
That's the look we're going for, actually.
Yeah.
We'll set that tour up. The committee,
Yeah, it could be anybody.
And I would just open it up to all the commissioners.
okay.
You gotta get it clean.
Okay, are we ready for R&R?
All right.
Ready. Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is our monthly facilities update, preliminary to our full commission update of the capital projects, R&R projects. And I'll do a quick rundown, and you should have a handout, and as usual, we also include a site map attached, exhibits. I think there's 2 of them, let's go around. And the key on that is green projects or construction in progress, red or design in progress. That's how the report is also broken down. I'll walk through here, and anytime any questions, happy to answer as best I'm able. We've also got Mr. Mike Fields, our senior inspector here. Invited him to sit with us from time to time, so if there's any detailed questions, he's by far the eyes on the ground. He can help us answer those questions. Project 232 is the State Route 99 Waterline project. The project's been going on for some time, the Seaboard Construction. 4 different sections of that project, down 99, 341, Green Swamp Road, and then a short section between Green Swamp Road and Highway 99. The Green Swamp Road one has been completed for some time. That branches all the way from the spur extension on the north side of 99 over towards spur 25. It's currently stopped short there at the 99 and Georgia Power easement intersection. We're currently working on the sectional 341 bores have been going in this week. I think we completed the bore underneath 99. I think we completed the bore underneath towards the Prater.
One on 99, and we got one on the Ryder finish yesterday.
Okay, finished yesterday, so we've got some momentum gained again on this project, which is a good thing. Yet to come is the section on 99. We're still working with DOT on how to accommodate our water line in their right of way. As it was originally designed, where it was originally designed, we came to find as the contractor got underway, a lot of existing or pre-existing utilities that weren't picked up on the survey in the original design. So DOT gave us some specifications on how close that water line to be to their edge of pavement, and we're working with them on how to get that in there. Likely what it's going to be is a directional bore, reversion from open cut to directional bore in many sections to avoid these existing utilities. It's a very, very tight right of way.
What were the major utilities you ran into?
Got Darien Intel popped up out of the woodwork. There's also a gas main through there that's nobody seemed to know about. They wiggle all through the right of way. I think they avoided the trees and zigged and zagged, and makes it difficult at this point. So, but we were working with them on that. One good thing on 341 section helped us move along is the proposition of requiring some easements to jump back outside of DOT right away. We're doing that everywhere we can, so we eliminate that from the equation and don't have to avoid or work with them anything in the future. So it's moving along finally again. Project 319 is Urbana sewer replacement. It's Washington County Machine Shop out of Macon, Georgia. And that project is complete. It's been substantially complete for some time. The only thing we've been waiting on is the record drawings. And typically at the end of projects, you see that happen a lot. Everybody's at the end of their budgets and whatnot. Record drawings seem to straggle along and along. We finally got those in hand now, and they're under review. So we are still holding significant retainage for record drawings. System's functional, working great, paving the roads. We have had really no complaints since the roads were finished. And even prior to the Irma event, we did go in due to some concerns of, in-house. We wanted to make sure on the drainage. So we went back a couple sections that had been holding water to assure the city that we didn't impact their drainage. We went and cleaned it out. Making a towel inch down the McDonald's, Popeyes is one area. Cleaned it out, TV'd it. The city was good. Irma came through. I don't know. It certainly didn't hurt that we had pre-cleaned the sewers, storm sewers, and we can rest easy that we left it in good shape, the city's storm system. So, still thinking about, would like to do some kind of community event. We talked about that before for the Urbana neighborhood folks. They put up with a lot through the life of that project, so maybe a good time this fall to have a little reminder, a little showcase of the park down there. City did a lot of improvements on the Urbana Park as well, and they're receptive to teaming up on something. So, more to come on that hopefully. Project 421 Mansfield Street sewer replacement. So, good news on that is that, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but the storm sewer, which the contractors are working on for the city. Once again, this is a joint water and sewer, City of Brunswick storm sewer project and paving. They're at 99% on the storm sewer. They've been working on the city storm sewer since December of 16 or so. So going on a year almost to finish up the storm sewer. There's one last conflict as they've been running their storm sewer and completing that with our water line, an existing water line. Conflict boxes involved, so we've worked and negotiated that issue. And the final water issue for us is in Bay Street. There's a section of ductile iron water main that needs to be replaced. That's run through an existing conflict box that the tidal influence, the wetting and drying has just corroded the pipe and destroyed the valves that operate. So that's the last section of our water. Now, I heard that paving contractor is supposed to be.
Curb and gutter crew was on site today. They started on Reynolds Street rather than Taylor Street, and Mansfield coming back here on Reynolds Street this time.
So Reynolds Street's Morgan's Cleaners. That's the section down by pump station 4002. Mr. Morgan's going to be extremely happy once he sees that thing paved. So,
What technology are they replacing the pipe with? PVC?
PVC, yes, sir.
And what about the valves, if we have that problem?
Valves, typical standard Muellers and they're per our spec.
Will they hold up under the water, or they have a limited life?
Any valve's going to have that limited life, but it's the best available technology and best available product that we have at our disposal right now. So the coatings, they come a long way on the coatings. A lot of stainless hardware on them now you see versus carbon steel in the past. So hopefully they'll be holding on.
And I would inject at this point also that, we do a lot with corrosion inhibitors now that past decades wasn't quite the case.
Mike, do your people know how to check to ensure that it's properly corrosion inhibited. I don't know how to say it exactly.
That would
As
be
Mr. Klein
one.
said, that we've come a long way from the construction of the valves. What we're doing, they're using standard valves, so we're improving our spec. I mean, we can look, see if there's grease on the stem.
Well, I just want to make sure the contractor doesn't put something in that doesn't give us the best, for our money.
When I say corrosion inhibitor too, Mr. Chairman, I'm talking about the water. When we pump the water out, we put corrosion inhibitor in the water to prevent it from being quite so aggressive when it comes up to bare metal.
I thought their problem was from saltwater intrusion.
Saltwater intrusion, that's
outside
correct.
and on the inside too.
Are we talking about water lines or sewer lines?
It-
Water lines are seeing salt line?
I think what brought it to the top was, I mentioned the water line, the duct line, water line is down in the conflict box down by Bay Street, which receives title
Oh, I see what you're saying.
inundation.
On the house.
So
Is there something more we can do there?
They have chemical coatings that, we've put on equipment that gets immersed, that, it goes above and beyond valves. We wouldn't think about anything like that. And I guess my other question is, that's a change order to the contract?
That was a part of the original part, a part of the original contract is the changing of the water line, replacing the water line there at the end of Bay Street.
Okay.
That section is. There have been some change orders along the way in this project, as you can see. $177,000 or so. So,
What's in the line item here, it says that staff is evaluating change order pricing.
change order price.
That's for the insert of valves.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yes, all right. So to address that, all right, the replacement of the line is part of the original contract.
Right.
Where we're at now is, along with replacing the line, we were to isolate the line for the contractor. Come to find out, when our crews went out to isolate the line on our system, those valves were found to be bad. So Derek's crews, water distribution has since ordered equipment to install what's called inserter valves. They can cut the valves in a lot quicker than and hot. They can hot tap valves in. So he has not received that equipment yet. This is kind of the dilemma we're in. We got a change order from Mr. Stone to insert 2 new 12-inch valves to allow him to do the work that's in the original contract. It's about $40,000, I think is what it is for that change order, that pricing he gave us. We haven't presented it as a change order yet. We're waiting to hear back from system pump, or from water distribution. When are you going to get the equipment and have the capability to install these valves ourselves in-house? We could do it for much less cost. We're trying to time it with the reps to come in and give us some on-site training and whatnot, and benefit with 2 new 12-inch valves to avoid this change order. So it'll still be additional cost for the cost of valves, but we're trying to save that money on the change order. So,
Well, I would think that with the contractor involved, with all the fun and joy that he has given us in the city, I would be very hesitant to want to give them any additional work.
yeah, it's an opportunity for us to learn how to use this new equipment that's coming in. It's a new capability for us. So we're going to try to work with water distribution as best as possible to get them doing in-house. So, but we've seen curbing going in, we should see asphalt getting laid, placed on the ground here shortly. And, yeah, a couple of weeks, so it's looking good for us. Good. Project 503 Canal Crossing and water enforcement improvements. That is East Coast. That is the cooperative project with Glynn County. Project's essentially complete and functional. All that's down to, again, is record drawings. And we really scrutinize record drawings when we get them back in. We pothole, one thing we're doing now in planning construction, during construction when the pipe's exposed, we'll go out and take survey grade GPS shots. Once we get the record drawings back in, we always require CAD files, we pull them in our system, we check, do those match up with where we know it is? If we see some discrepancies, we order the contractor to go back out, pothole, expose, and truth the record drawings. So we're not taking construction drawings submitted as record drawings.
Okay.
Part of being as accurate as possible. So that's where that is. Again, we have a reimbursement due back to the Glynn County because they did pay for the improvements up front, and then we'll have reimbursement due to them. Project 504 is Canal Crossing Pump Station. That pump station is complete. It's been complete and functional since December of 2016, I believe it is. What we've been waiting is punch list items to be completed, which are finally now completed. Flow meter was one issue. It took a while to get that flow meter functional, or for the contract to get it functional. It's now functional. And again, record drawings. We're down to that last thing that just seems to drag on and on and on. Finally, we have the record drawing satisfied. We're waiting on the warranty documentation on the flow meter, and we should be able to close that project out.
Okay, forward and then back to the we're talking 503, right?
That would that's 504, Canal Crossing Pump Station.
Oh, 504.
Yes, sir, they're similar names. One is the water and force main in the county right away, which is the county project, where they widen the canal road for the Sam's Club development. And then the next one, 504, is on the pump station itself.
Okay, now on 503,
Yes.
we got the record drawings from the contractor, and then we had to send it back to the contractor with revisions. What were the
Right.
problems with record drawings?
The lines were not shown reflected accurately in the record lines, the location, the routing.
Is there a penalty for that?
Not necessarily, not directly, other than holding their retainage. There's not a penalty, so to speak.
Okay.
Not currently. So that. Project 505, pump station 2032. So this one's going to fall off next. We just want to emphasize that one is complete now. That's our large force main project down First River Road, St. Simon's Island. That one is done. Project 701 is 4048 force main improvements. TV Landmark is the contractor, and out of Jacksonville, Florida. They, Husky Bell, engineer, is also assisting us with contract management, and Jim Rogan's here, Husky Bell. So that project's underway. Actually, there at 4005 pump station, there's a lot of railroad permitting, 2 railroad permits involved, a lot of flagging, all that, a lot of dewatering, jack and bore casing underneath the railroad. That's all underway right now. So we're going to see, and that's going to move on down to 5th Street and went on down Brunswick-Glynn or Norwich Commons, where the final discharge manhole will be placed. And one thing to note on this project, this is a fair amount of flow that the receiving manhole will receive from this force main. This reroutes around 4005. Rather than discharging to 4005, this force main routes the 4048 chain of force mains around 4005. Heck of a lot of flow going to the receiving manhole. We decided in this case to go with an HDPE or a plastic receiving structure versus concrete. We've seen a lot of cases in the county where we've had different technologies tried way back into the county and city days, and we see this as a good opportunity to test out newer technology, which is the high-density polyethylene structures. It's a custom-built receiving structure, being shipped up from Mulberry, Florida, I think it is, and this would be something interesting to see. Let's put in. So, put that in the ground, and I don't expect you're going to see any degradation problems for 100+ years, we say, or greater.
So at what point's a good time to go out and look at it?
Let's, once we get the jacking water, that'll be a big step there, then we'll start getting the pipe in the ground. We'll give the commission plenty of notice to come see when that thing gets installed. It'll be pretty interesting.
Okay.
So, one thing along with the plastic structures, you know, they're not as heavy as concrete, so we all know where groundwater is here. You have to put ballast in, concrete ballast. It's all calculated out. It's going to be a neat thing to see.
Yeah, they really look good too when they pop out.
No, they don't.
You obviously have experience.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Yeah, you don't want them to cork. So good stuff going there. Now to mention, add on to the 4048. That's a preliminary preemptive project for our SPLOST mainland projects, which are also underway. SPLOST Phase 1. Talk about now, that's Project 702, North Mainland Sewer Basin Reroute. That's $11.7 million of the $15 million budget, or monies funds that will be paid out of SPLOST 2016. That's being done by Constantine Constructors out of Fort Walton Beach, Florida. That is a group of pump stations that are being improved, force mains reconnected, creative boosters pumps placed creatively to get us an immediate relief of North Mainland capacity by February 2018 is what was planned. And so far, we're still on track with that. So as part of that project, we did it's a design build project. We did pre-purchase pumps and equipment, and the contractor is currently mobilized and dewatering working at it 4028, 4048, 4005, right next to TV Landmark, and 4006 and 4110 will be up in that area too. So there's going to be a lot of activity going on here shortly, or is already initiated. What's that? Oh, cool. All the underground storage tanks. So at some of these sites we had, these are improvements that were planned anyway, capital improvement or upgrades to these stations. It's all being incorporated into the same project in a way. So some of these are site cleanups. We had old generators, underground storage tanks, etc. EP is real heavy on that right now, monitoring, etc. So it was a good opportunity for us to pull those tanks for a couple of reasons: environmentally, liability, but also the real estate. So we no longer have those tanks laying on the ground allegedly leaking any fuel or anything like that. So it's a cleanup effort too. So all of them are out for this.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And they need tests for the data.
Got it. So we're following all the protocol for testing and monitoring during the removals. Going with that. Going on to engineering projects that are in the engineering design process. 501 Oliver Circle, and that one's been on there for quite a while. You see the 500 designation. It is still just in a holding pattern. It's just simply fallen on priority due to the other projects we have going on. It's not forgotten, but it's going to have to be rebid due to the prices that came in, likely redesigned, and taking another look at it.
On that project, is there, because I'm sort of familiar with it because it was being thought about back when I was with Glynn County, is there a possibility to be able to manpower to do it in-house?
That's one thing we need to look at. I think so. It's, commissioners, you know, in that neighborhood, there's a lot of established driveways and fences.
That's why it's so expensive.
It's exactly. So it's a large amount of it is directional drilling, is what was bid, what the contractors bid. A lot of them subbed it to directional drillers. That jacked the price up a bit, and I can understand why. I mean, it's the inconvenience side, it's the restoration, etc.
Oliver Circle, isn't there a lot of water problems in the CPOM's east area?
So CPOM's, right, CPOM's is on our master list for replacement. We have a lot of 6-inch transite lines out there that are due for replacement out there.
I'm doing an analysis of those lines right now.
2-inch, yeah, a lot of 2-inch galvan
I hate to be brutal. I mean, these people did spend a lot of money on landscaping and what have you, but isn't there a lot of county right-of-way? Could we not just, brutalize our way through and install the line? And I mean, it would be unpopular, but it would solve the problem. I don't know. They're just floating an idea out there.
I wasn't here for it, but all I keep hearing about is Carmageddon.
On Oliver Circle?
No, I'm just saying, in general,
Oh, okay.
anytime we impose a hardship on our citizens, from what I hear, it's not a good thing right now.
No, they don't like it. I don't understand.
I don't either. My driveway does.
So the project won't fall off the list. We'll stay here until we get it solved. But for now, it's still there, and it's kind of a holding pattern. So project 602 is Holly Street rehab replacement, extension of gravity sewers in there. That was essentially in the same holding pattern at the moment. But now with 2032 out of the way, all the work in that area and that neighborhood done, this is going to be a good time to go back and revisit this project. Get it out for bid. It's ready to go out to bid, but it'll have to go through the county process since that's utilizing SPOS money.
Okay, so this is another SPOS. What are we gonna do?
Gravity extensions in Glen Haven. Yeah, and some leftover money to extend up Second and Holly Street, up towards Holly Street.
Okay, I guess the question is, between 501 and 602, which is, you say is the priority effort?
Well, one's water and one's sewer, so it's, I think in the Sea Palms area, one thing about the Oliver Circle is it's basically a loop off of the main road, off of Windward Drive.
Yeah.
Well, Windward Drive is 6 inch, all the way out to Frederica. So even if we upgrade Oliver Circle, it doesn't do a whole lot of good because the feed comes from a 6 inch from Frederica.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how the project was set up back when it was created, but it may make more sense to wait until either we have money or a greater project that's going to replace the main all the way from Frederica. You know, go buy Oliver Circle, then look at it, and then do what we're proposing to the rest of Sea Palms.
Because, you know, I did a project in Sea Palms East and replaced the water line in, was it Bayberry Circle?
That sounds familiar.
Okay, and it really wasn't that expensive, and, you know, we did disturb some landscaping at the right of way, and we wrote in the contract to replace driveways with lights. If they had asphalt, they got back asphalt, concrete. And it didn't seem to, from my recollection, it went pretty fast and was not that disruptive. It just, you know, people lost some shrubs and some sprinkler heads near the road. Could we kind of revisit that, look at the plans a little bit and see? Because if it's, and I remember this project, it really shouldn't require directional drilling, especially since it's just a circle. I don't know. I just, that seems like a whole lot for, I got, too bad I don't have my records. I'd like to see what Glynn County paid for Bayberry Circle, because it was nowhere in that price range.
We can, I can go back and pull the bidders, the bid tab, and that project also was bid by the county. We provided the design and everything that the county did due to the requirements for county SPOS money they would have to bid at that time.
Well, where I was going with my question is, we have a problem with cost of $500,000 on Holly Street. If that comes in over, where's additional money going to come from?
But we
But
can't
I was
go,
thinking-
my understanding, since both of them were they're SPOS, one's sewer SPOS, one's water SPOS, we can't commingle.
They've been designated as separate,
Exactly.
identified as separate
Correct.
projects, yeah. So that's as far as I understand, there's no point in it.
Yeah. I understand what it is.
It's worth looking into again though. Okay. Project 702, you'll see is the continuation of the North Mainland Basin Reroute, $11.7 million SPOS 2016 project. That is the rest of the phases 2, 3, 4, and possibly 5, but right now 2, 3, and 4. So as recently as this afternoon, we had a meeting to update on phase 2 to nail down the route down the Whitlock area and find out how we're going to carry that gravity from where we left it off with the Canal Road project there at Ogden, and then on down. What's the best route for us to take there? So that's under evaluation. Phase 3 is the section from 4110 down to Canal Road, down here to Boulevard. That's pretty straightforward, and we're moving forward with the preliminary, or have already moved forward with preliminary survey work on that. One key component of that is coordinate that with Glynn County's work on Canal Road widening from where they left off with the canal crossing section back up to the intersection with Glencoe Parkway by Moondoggies. So we're waiting on a little more information from Glynn County on how they're going to acquire right of way to make that widening happen. Plus there's storm relocation, some ditch piping, some large storm ditch piping, and realignment of the intersection with Glencoe Canal. So, but we do have the preliminary work that we can do at this time underway. Phase 4 is the reroute of pump station 4039 and 109 to Canal Road, and that will be the last phase of the project that we do with SPLOST. Project 703, 4003 decommission and gravity sewer. That is also, that's the second part of the $15 million SPLOST 2016 monies. That is the decommissioning of pump station 4003 within the city limits, south of Academy Creek. Gravity flow that straight to Academy Creek. And that's been on the books for some time. The city had a plan back many years ago, and this is, and actually, Kingdom K Street preparation for this has already installed the gravity sewer extension down to the station. This is carrying it from the station to Academy Creek. That was part of our discussions this afternoon as well, and preliminary engineering underway for that project. Project 704 is Canal Road to Glencoe Parkway, 12-inch water main loop. That's connecting the Canal Road Glencoe area back to the water system there in front of the airport, there at Bride. And right now, as we talked about in the past, we've got a single 10-inch feed that runs through the Flexi campus and it comes out right from the airport. If that were to go down, that would take the airport and McBride Industrial out of water. So we want to have a redundant loop system in there. And this is a couple thousand feet. Now the plan is to do this in-house. Water distribution would like to have this one in-house. We've got a handful of pipe left over, 12-inch PVC pipe from the 2030 project. It's still there. And we may have, or likely to have, some pipe left over possibly from the 99 water line project. If we do go directional bore on some of those sections. So the materials, we'll have at least a good chunk of it. Then it's just the labor to put it in the ground. That will also be designed in-house. And last, 705 Montala Road to Old Jessup. It's another short water main loop connection, 600 or so feet. That's also would like to do that in-house. We've already designed it in-house. We'd like to have operations and water distribution folks do the actual construction there. That would give us another loop connection between the former city and former county when they were separate. It'll give us a secondary loop there. And that is the capital projects. One other thing I'd like to mention while I have podium, construction standards. Give you an update on where we stand with that. It's been on the books to do for quite some time. And it's one of the things I wanted to do when I first came along, was get the standards cleaned up, revised. I think the provisional we're working with now is 2012, so we're due. There's a lot of relic materials and different things from that need to be updated. So we were going to take that and go out to a consultant to help us do this and whatever. What we were doing is every Friday after DRT meeting, we have all the divisions there represented, and we would take an hour after the DRT review for the plans. We'd sit around, we'd go around the table, and everybody would, chapter by chapter, page by page, everybody give their input in and whatever else. We got a lot of good input, but as you can imagine, when you get all those folks around the table, and everybody passionate about certain things, you don't seem to accomplish all that a lot. You get a lot of notes, and you get a lot of revisions and all this and that, but it was never compiled. So to kind of put some afterburners on this project, I've got Mr. Timothy Ransom here. He's our Chief Plan Review Specialist in planning and construction. Timothy was instrumental back in when he worked for the county in getting together what he called the grid, still called the grid, right? The county's specifications. And I started thinking about it as I was going through Tim's annual review. I said, there's nobody more qualified or passionate about our construction standards than Timothy Ransom to tackle this project. So I've tasked this with him with his goal this year to be the one to spearhead compiling the revisions that we've already garnered from all the different divisions. And again, all divisions are reached out to because we want input from everybody. This is going to be everybody's document to live and breathe by. And it's a little selfish. I want everybody as guilty as me when it comes to the standards. So what Tim has done is he's put together a timeline. I didn't make copies for it. It's just a brief discussion. But a timeline. We have milestones set. He's going to interview each department individually, get their final comments and revisions, come back and compile these things together. Now the goal is once we do that, we'll come back and actually have a round where we present it to stakeholders. So we're going to get engineers involved, local developers, as it's been done in the past. There's been some committees and things formed for this in the past. And then we'll have either a consultant, we'll figure out at that point to help us compile this thing into a concise and sensible document. The goal is to have the specs set up in a format where they're essentially a technical specification that can be attached to any project we do going forward. It'll cover about anything that, or really anything that we'll do. So that is the goal. Now within 12 months, we'll have the draft complete. And of course, they'll be brought back to facilities, the full commission for presentation. And we would like the full commission to, facilities recommend first, but the full commission to adopt officially the standards.
I want to figure a way, if we can, maybe we can, in which someone chooses to look at our standards and decide to construct in such a manner that is less than our standards, but by saying it's going to be a private system, that they're allowed to do that. I would like the standards to apply to those utilities, water and sewer utilities, that are being planned for migration to us or assumption to us. Plus, I'd like the construction standard to apply to anyone who constructs any utility within Glynn County.
If we had the standards where we like them, and that shouldn't be a bigger deal than talking to the city and county managers, talking to their engineers, and then seeing about getting their bodies to adopt them as a requirement for all these satellite systems that might be floating around out there or might potentially come about.
Yeah, and it may require it to be enacted as a county ordinance. So that's kind of how I look at this thing. We have a lot of substandard systems sitting out there. We have a lot of homeowners who buy homes that are substandard because the utilities that were put in, we will not assume. The homeowners don't want to put the money out to upgrade the lift stations and the lines and all that's required so that we can. Right now, the word's not get to capitalize, or whatever we call that when we take them over.
Assume.
Assume, I don't know, whatever.
Right.
Take them on as part of our assets.
Right.
Look, I bring up a good point that somebody's making revenues on this assets, even if it's not us. If the standard were to be for existing assets that are out there, maybe a discussion we could have is, would there be a way to maybe talk to or require those utilities or utility owners to, over a period of years, 5, 10, 20 years, require them to phase in the upgrades to come to those standards and give them some kind of a, milestones they had to hit. That's a later discussion.
I don't know if we have that kind of legal stick to beat
May
on.
not, may not.
Unless you go to, was it
health,
State.
state folks who regulate septic systems. I don't know who would have that stick. The only thing I'd say to this is thank you for doing this, and the B in my bonded is still SCADA systems. I'm not a fan of data flow for a number of reasons, including some of the issues I had at the most recent tank, where they bid a price to all the various bidders. They gave them a set price. Once we got a bidder who won the contract, they came back after he was locked in as the winning bidder and jacked the price up to at least $5,000 after it had been bid. They said, "Oh, we forgot this on the bid," and so that, number one, ethically burns me, and the technology that they're floating out there as being modern was modern in the 80s, but not now, and it is not compatible with other systems. It is, that just bothers me no end, so.
Well, you need an open architecture system.
Right, that's what I'm looking for, is an open architecture system. If you do, something that we can integrate with the wastewater treatment plant, Wonderware, or whatever the most recent whiz-bang system that's out there, that we can grow as the county grows.
I think we talked about this last time this came up, or that SCADA came up. We're looking at a current cellular technology that combines with a VT SCADA programming that is open architecture. It's off-the-shelf components, and we are looking, and we have budgeted in this year's capital budget to make a blanket replacement of those systems, and especially those older ones. So DFS and the two systems that are worn out at Southport and at Academy Creek, about to come out.
Okay, that's the question. You said that one time before. At Academy, well, I don't know about Academy Creek because I have no experience. I know the one at St. Simon's was Wonderware. And I know the one that I did at Exit 29 was, I think is now acquired by Siemens. It used to be
Clear SCADA.
Clear SCADA. Thank you. Awesome. That was Clear SCADA. I don't know what is the most for controlling, doing what those systems were bought to do. What is the most recent thing out there? Have you started looking at anything, replacements for Wonderware or Clear SCADA?
Kirk, would you address that? Because Kirk's been really looking at this pretty hard.
Let's see, you've got the Siemens product line, which is Clear SCADA, and you've got the Schneider versions, which is several of them under the Schneider envelope, Wonderware being one of them. Then you have the Allen Bradley versions. BT SCADA is one of the most robust open architecture formats and have been used for years. And it cut its teeth around water and wastewater industry. So unlike some of the other iterations where you're looking at DEI fix, factory talk, things like that, very complicated design for factory installations, not to the level that BT SCADA is. I have experience with GEI fix, also Wonderware, and we've been to some classes and some examination, and there's a planned trip to an installation. And in fact, some of the representatives, integrators that are interested in doing this project with us they're talking with staff to iron out some details. We're looking at short-term because we've got some failing components on DFS, so I love hearing you say it's a headache because it has been a headache for us. The rollout will have more detail as time marches on, but everything that we've seen about BT SCADA makes it very user-friendly, not to the point where you lose control or where you lose security. Sometimes when you hear that it's simple to operate, you think that, oh, that's going to open the door to problems. It is intuitively intelligent by design to where the scripting, the internal scripting makes sense. It's not as basic as some of the programs where we're basically a graphical user interface with an HMI and you were still writing ladder logic. This has a lot of what they call widgets built into it to where the tagging and the scripting is all right there, and yet you can optimize and customize it, or configure is the term that they use, to your application. They have ready-to-use packages to where, with very minimal training, a good operator or a good SCADA guy could build pages and customize. And the nice thing is it'll be something that well, we're gonna love this about the time we have another hurricane. They have a graphical interface, as do other brands. A graphical interface where it tags it to your geocoding so that you get it in a real-time Google map type format where you can see whether or not that lift station and where it is on planet Earth. And you simply drill down to it to give you all kinds of information. And then on top of that, it has built-in troubleshooting matrices where it looks at what are your run times, what's happening with your pumps, what are your bad actors. So it actually helps you not only just from a supervisor control, I'm turning on and off a pump, right? And I might get a flow meter data or some runtime data. No, it goes way beyond that to some diagnostic components built right into it where it will tell you, you need to go look at this lift station.
And
Automatic.
My recollection is things like you're adding extra sensors like temperature sensors on your motors, you're looking at the amps, you're looking at the head pressure on your pumps, and you're looking at, I mean, aside from just the casual run times and things you get already, you're looking at you're adding some other details that we don't currently see.
Yeah, we don't presently see them now. If you say that, all the other vendors are gonna say, well, our software does that. And it's true, they do. But the problem that seems to be inherently addressed in BT SCADA is you don't have to build this thing from the ground, have an integrator build that programming from the ground up. It's there. You simply plug in the component that gives you that data point, and she'll trend it for you. And what's more, you tell it, I want to see that report on my desk 7 a.m. every morning. You don't have to have an operator that tells it to do it. It'll do that from now to the end of time.
It also has built-in drivers for different PLCs and stuff. Instead of with a lot of SCADA programs, you have to purchase different drivers if you change from an Allen Bradley PLC to something else. Or if they updated the new Allen Bradley PLCs, you got to buy another driver. The drivers are already built into the BT SCADA package, and when the new ones come out, they automatically get uploaded from BT SCADA into our software. So we don't have to go back and do all
Now,
that.
you guys are saying that, the other thing I thought I picked up is that because there's all this kind of ready-to-go stuff and just minor changes, we're gonna be fairly independent, self-reliant once we move forward with this. We're not gonna be having a technician called in every week to, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need
And
to tweak.
BT has that by design.
Or if we add a new station 6 months down the road.
Yes, so you add a station or we adopt something and we want to incorporate this, it's very easy to add it to the system.
Okay, does organization now have a SCADA guy? Or do you have several SCADA guys?
Not yet.
The answer is yes.
Okay.
The answer is yes.
All right, thank you. I didn't mean to take us into the weeds, that's from,
Well, it's an interesting weeds for me because I was just reading an article on Defense News, and I'll share it with you and everybody, for where the Defense Department's going with this kind of technology.
Hey, going back to your standards, let me ask a question. If you're writing the standards, why do you need anybody else's approval or review?
Good. Do you mean the stakeholder approval?
Yes.
It's a good faith effort for buy-in, and I guess it's a good faith effort in a way. Now, would we allow it to be dictated by? Necessarily no, but I would like the input, and you can always learn
Public
something.
contract. That's
The contract-
essentially what you're asking for.
Right, and the other thing too, if there's anything I learned, a lot of times, your contractors, of course, engineers, consultants, but your contractors and the folks that are using the products and whatever, sometimes they know what works better than somebody that's trying to sell it to you. So like you get the straight from the hip shot. So the input we get from the contractors that have put things in the ground, to know what works, we find value.
Okay.
If there's no questions, that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Junkin?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any, anything to add to today's discussions, except we've got a lot of homework.
Anybody else have any comments, discussions,
No, I'm
questions? Then I guess we are adjourned. Thank you.